In the Kalahari Desert, a small blackbird named the fork-tailed drongo has figured out something most predators never do. It doesn't hunt its food, it steals it by lying. And the lie isn't crude, it's calculated, adaptive, and it changes depending on who's listening. If you think deception requires a certain kind of intelligence, one we usually reserve for ourselves, the drongo is about to make you reconsider everything you assumed about what animals are capable of. Start with what the drongo actually does. It follows meerkat colonies around, watching them dig for food. When a meerkat finds something good, the drongo sounds a false alarm call, the exact call meerkats use to warn each other of an approaching hawk. The meerkats scatter and dive for cover. The drongo swoops down and steals the abandoned food. That alone would be a clever trick. But in 2014, researcher Tom Flower published a study in Science that found something stranger. Meerkats aren't gullible. After a few false alarms from the same fake call, they stop responding to it. They learn to ignore it. So the drongo switches. It has a repertoire of over a dozen different alarm calls, including calls that mimic entirely different species. When one lie stops working, it moves to the next. This isn't a fixed instinct firing on a loop. It's a bird actively tracking which lies still work and discarding the ones that don't. That distinction matters more than it sounds like it should. A trap doesn't know it's a trap. A Venus flytrap closes on anything that trips its trigger hairs indiscriminately, mechanically. The drongo is doing something categorically different. It is modeling what another animal currently believes and adjusting its behavior based on that belief. In cognitive science, that capacity has a name: theory of mind. The ability to understand that another creature's knowledge might be different from your own and to act on that gap. For decades, theory of mind was considered close to exclusively human. The drongo suggests otherwise, and it isn't alone. Western scrub jays take this even further, and their case is stranger because it involves lying to members of their own species. Scrub jays cache food, burying it to eat later, and other scrub jays are notorious thieves, watching where a bird buries its food so they can dig it up once the owner leaves. Researcher Nicola Clayton at Cambridge found that jays who had previously stolen another bird's cache became far more likely to re-hide their own food if they noticed they were being watched while caching. They waited until the observer looked away, then relocated the food to a new spot. Some jays went further still. They performed a fake caching motion at the original spot, digging and covering nothing, purely to mislead whichever bird was watching. A jay that had never stolen food itself didn't bother with this behavior nearly as often. It took having been a thief to understand what a thief would do, which means the deception wasn't random. It was built from the jay's own memory of its own dishonesty, projected onto another mind. Primates push the same capability into more elaborate territory. Researchers studying chimpanzees have documented individuals concealing food from dominant group members, moving it behind their backs, covering it with leaves, or waiting until a dominant chimp looked away before retrieving it. In one frequently cited case, a subordinate male chimp discovered a hidden stash of fruit while a dominant male was nearby. Instead of approaching it immediately, he waited, behaving normally, until the dominant male wandered off, and only then went back for the fruit. Primatologists Andrew Whiten and Richard Byrne, who cataloged dozens of these cases across multiple chimp populations in the 1980s, coined a term for it: tactical deception, not lying by accident, lying with a plan, timed to another individual's attention. Cuttlefish take deception somewhere stranger still, not through calls or timing, but through their own bodies. A cuttlefish can display two completely different patterns on each side of its body simultaneously. One side signaling aggression to a rival male, the other side displaying calm, feminine coloration to a nearby female, so the rival never realizes courtship is happening a few centimeters away. Marine biologists studying this behavior in giant Australian cuttlefish found it was consistent and situational. The split signal display appeared specifically when a smaller male was competing against a larger male for a female's attention. and vanished when no rival was present. The cuttlefish isn't confused about what it's doing. It is running two separate deceptions on two separate audiences live at the same time. What connects a bird faking a predator alarm, a jay pretending to bury food, a chimp waiting for a rival to look away, and a cuttlefish splitting its own skin into two conflicting messages is the same underlying requirement. Each of them has to hold a model of what another mind currently knows or believes, separate from what they themselves know, and then act to manipulate that gap. That is a significantly heavier cognitive load than simple stimulus and response. It means keeping track of an audience. It means updating the lie when the audience stops believing it. It means, in the drongo's case, remembering which specific lies have already burned out and which ones are still fresh. None of this means these animals experience deception the way people do, with guilt or satisfaction or the internal narrative humans build around dishonesty. Researchers are careful about that distinction, and the evidence can't settle it either way. What the evidence does settle is that deception, once assumed to require a uniquely human kind of self-awareness, keeps showing up in species separated from us by tens of millions of years of evolution. A bird, a jay, a chimp, a cuttlefish, all independently arriving at the same basic move: figure out what the other one believes and use it. There's a colder way to read all of this, and it's probably the more accurate one. Every one of these animals lies for the same reason people usually do, because it works, and because getting caught costs less than staying honest costs. The drongo doesn't feel bad about the meerkats it startles into losing their meal. The scrub jay isn't ashamed of faking a cache. These are cost-benefit systems that happen to land on the same solution intelligence keeps landing on over and over whenever an animal needs something from another mind and can't simply take it by force. So the next time you watch a bird call out a warning or a dog seem to innocently wander toward the table you just left food on, it might be worth asking a slightly different question than the one people usually ask. Not whether the animal understands you, but whether it has already figured out exactly what you don't.